Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the actual architecture you need to deploy autonomous AI agents at scale inside a modern retail enterprise. If you've been banging your head against the wall trying to figure out how to build a governed AI platform, one that actually works right alongside your human teams, well, you are in the exact right place. Let's look at the blueprints. So let's kick things off with a bit of a provocative thought. What happens when we finally move beyond basic, chatty language models and start treating AI as a highly specialized coworker? We're not talking about some sci-fi futuristic robots roaming the store aisles here. Nope. We're talking about an invisible, governed layer of AI that collaborates directly with your frontline employees. That is the real enterprise opportunity. To make sense of this architecture, we're going to walk through a day in the life of enterprise AI. We'll hit on the frontline AI experience, check out specialized domain agents, explore the governed enterprise foundation, look at secure agent-to-agent networks, and wrap up with overnight knowledge synthesis.
Section 1, the frontline AI experience. Let's jump in.
Okay, so this right here, this is the massive paradigm shift. A standalone chatbot is pretty isolated, right? It's totally prompt-based and relies heavily on the user knowing exactly what to type to get a good answer. But a governed enterprise agent, that's a whole different ballgame. It's fully integrated. It's not just spitting out text. It's actively retrieving real-time data, drafting up complex workflows, and actually talking to your core business systems.
And the coolest part is that this whole flow starts exactly where your employees are already hanging out. There are no clunky new interfaces to learn. Say an employee asks a question over in Microsoft Teams or Slack. That request doesn't just ping some raw LLM. Instead, it hits a highly secure central agent gateway. This gateway verifies who they are and what permissions they have before routing them to the right agent. It's an absolute must for making sure an agent never accidentally leaks data an employee isn't cleared to see.
Moving on to Section 2, Specialized Domain Agents.
The absolutely crucial takeaway on this one is that we are not trying to build some massive all-knowing superbot. Seriously, don't do that. Instead, we're building distinct, focused nodes with totally unique missions, their own tool belts, and very strict boundaries. Take a store operations agent, for example. It gets access to labor calculators and securely integrates directly with your point of sale and workforce systems. Meanwhile, the inventory agent uses completely different tools, like replenishment workflows, and connects to your warehouse management system and ERP. Basically, every single agent operates like its own dedicated enterprise application.
But of course, to keep everything from descending into total chaos, all these specialized agents have to sit on top of shared enterprise services. This shared infrastructure handles things like centralized agent registries, identity management, persistent memory, and end-to-end observability. Using tools like OpenTelemetry to keep a really strict eye on every single digital move they make. Having this centralized governance is literally what stops a wild west of rogue bots from just popping up across all your different departments.
All right, Section 3, the Governed Enterprise Foundation.
So the very first foundational piece here is the model gateway. Agents should never, ever just call model providers directly. Instead, this gateway steps in like a super smart traffic cop. It enforces your enterprise policies, routing a simple classification task over to a small, blazing fast local model, while punting a much more complex inventory planning task up to a specialized reasoning model. It's brilliant because it doesn't just manage latency. It actively keeps your token costs and budgets completely under control.
Now, when an agent actually needs to run code, automate a browser, or parse some huge vendor document, it doesn't do that in the primary runtime. It happens inside a totally isolated, sandboxed environment. We're talking restricted network access, read-only file systems, and temporary credentials. The sandbox is granted the absolute bare minimum permissions needed to get that one specific task done, and then it's automatically destroyed the second the job is finished.
Section 4, Secure Agent-to-Agent Networks.
Okay, this is where it gets really fun. When agents collaborate, they don't just chat back and forth freely like teenagers on a messaging app. No way. They use heavily controlled, structured task envelopes. Let's say a store ops agent detects that an item is out of stock. It sends a structured task over to the inventory agent, passing along the exact context in digital trace identifiers. Then, the inventory agent checks the ERP, tags in the fulfillment agent to look into warehouse availability, and together they package up a complete recommendation. Finally, they present that neat little package right back to the human store manager in Teams for approval.
And, that human element brings us perfectly to action safety levels. Before executing any high-stakes action, think about changing a product price or modifying payroll or canceling a massive supplier order, the agents will always hit a policy guardrail. For high-impact stuff, the system automatically triggers an approve-to-execute workflow. The agent can draft the transaction all at once, but a real human manager with the right authority actually has to click the button to authorize it. Human judgment is and always should be firmly at the center of the enterprise.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Overnight Knowledge Synthesis.
So agent memory is not just one giant messy database where everything gets dumped. It's actually highly structured into working, episodic, semantic, and procedural memory. And there is a golden rule you have to follow here. An agent's memory must never override your authoritative enterprise systems. For example, if an agent remembers that a specific shelf was totally empty at 2 p.m., that does not replace your core ERP or inventory system as the absolute single source of truth.
So how do we actually learn from all these structured memories? Well, through an overnight knowledge synthesis process. It's almost like a kind of offline dreaming phase for the enterprise. The platform runs batch jobs to review the day's episodic memories across, say, 40 different retail stores. It looks for recurring operational problems and even proposes workflow improvements. But hold on, before any of these new insights become shared enterprise knowledge, they face a really strict checkpoint. They have to be validated by a human subject matter expert.
And that validation step is huge, because in this space, provenance is power. Any new knowledge is initially slapped right into quarantine. Every single synthesized memory keeps a strict record of exactly where it came from, which agents were involved, and what its confidence level is. This creates an ironclad boundary between verified organizational facts, model-generated hypotheses, and just subjective employee opinions.
So I want to leave you with one final, absolutely crucial question. As you sit down and think about how to apply this reference architecture in your own retail or enterprise environment, you've got to ask yourself, are you just building yet another chatbot, or are you genuinely ready to build a governed, observable, and highly collaborative digital workforce? The tech is literally already here, the architecture is totally proven, and the next step is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a rock-solid blueprint for your own enterprise AI journey.